Hey, what's up? It's Comic 95, the Savior. So, yeah, I was not going to make this a public video. This was going to just be for patrons, but I wanted to update you guys too because I haven't done a formal journal here. So, I hate doing these now because my channel is bigger than it initially was. It's still very small, but for me, this is a lot more people. And plus, I know that more people like to watch my journals over my other videos. So I wanted to make sure I was still giving you guys some of this content here. If you really like journals and you're missing that, as I've said a million times, sorry for preaching this, selling it, whatever. It's my channel, my content, have to make a living. It's all on Patreon. I update there way more often with journals and I tell all my business there. So if you want to be nosy and know about my work life, dating life, etc., it's all on Patreon. Excuse me, I can figure out how to hold my laptop. So yeah. There's so much going on, and I want to start off by saying it's always at my journals. As you can tell, this is not a super made up, look. There are product flakes in my hair from hairspray. My hair is dirty and messy, it needs to be washed. I need to be washed. I slept in my makeup. Um, there's just so much going on, so I'm going to try to update you guys a little bit. So, what I wanted to talk about, and this video might get thanks, not plane is coming. This video might not get uploaded in order because I don't know how I plan to post my stuff. Because I noticed when I was looking back and editing my stuff, for those of you that hate me, you're going to be like, you don't say, go figure. A lot of my stuff was pretty angry. And so I don't want to pretend like these are not thoughts in my mind. It's not how I'm feeling, but I get tired of dealing with y'all, especially white people. Well, if you hate Japan so much, why are you still here? I literally made videos answering that. So as always with any journal, most people write about sad and angry things. People don't normally write, oh my god, today was the best dick sucking day ever. People don't write like that. When you write inside of your journal, it's normally things that you're not going to say to other people. This is my outlet. I cannot go around expressing these things in real life. So I express them in a journal. And in this case, I'm making my written journal public. I'm talking to you instead. So you're going to have to get used to me moving my camera around until I figure out how I want to prop it up. Peep the cleavage. So, yeah. But come on, everybody wants to be noisy all of a sudden outside. Motorcycles, planes, everything. So let me hurry up before I'm stupid. I have a regular light I can use. I was thinking before my sunlight is gone. But whatever, we're going to have to work with this. This video is going to probably get lengthy. I'm going to try my best because I'm wasting time right now to make it as short as possible. So, yeah. This is what's going on. I'm inside, by the way. This is just the design of the wall. So, I'm sitting in my bed right now, and I've had a really, really stressful past week being in Tokyo. So since the cat is out of the bag, I might as well spill it. I'm moving back to Tokyo, you guys. I'll be going back to Osaka a couple of times, and if you want to know why and what's going on, Patreon. I'm not going to go over all of that. It's too much to talk about. This video is not going to make a lot of sense unless you are a patron because there's a lot of holes that you're going to have to fill in on your own. Because I'm not going to have time to explain all of the details and catch you guys up. You're just going to have to watch those videos. I have about 50 videos plus on Patreon that are not here. 50 plus journals of information that you're missing out on if you're not a patron. Not to mention there's photos there and other little things like written journal posts that I never will put on YouTube, never put on Instagram, Facebook, nothing else. So it is well worth your $5. What was I going to say? So yeah, I'm actually staying at a share house right now, and it sucks, and I'll make another video talking about that. But I won't be here for long, but I will be here for longer than I would like to be, mainly because I want to get myself stabilized before I go ahead and rent another place. So I'll be here for at least a month or two. I've been here for, how long has it been? I've been here for exactly a week today, actually. Has it been? Yes, I've been here for exactly 1 week today. So, yeah, I've had 7 days under my belt of being here to decide how much I can stand it. And I haven't even been inside of here all 7 days. I've been busy dating and doing my thing, which you've already seen that on Patreon and Instagram. So let me update you here. This video is going to be about my job hunting. So I came to Tokyo for the purpose of job hunting, not to have fun, just about the fact that I kind of made it seem that way. Of course, it was also for leisure, get my mind off of what's going on in my real life. I had a really hard time handling Pumpkin's death, and to be honest, if it weren't for the fact that I were job hunting right now and busy dating, it would probably be hitting me a lot harder. It's honestly been haunting me, making it hard for me to sleep. I can't stop thinking about him or it. If you didn't know Pumpkin died, you should have been following me on Instagram. Should have been a patron. But yes, my cat died. I don't want to think about it. Okay, let's move on. So, I've been here job hunting. I've had a ton of interviews. It's so much easier to interview in Tokyo, but as I said before, the downside is there are also a ton of jobs that want to lowball you and pay you as little as possible because they know that, the ball is in their court. There are tons of foreigners. There are tons of jobs, but there's still more foreigners than there are jobs. So it's a lot easier for employers to find, the right applicant. However, there are also jobs that offer a lot more salary when they are a bigger company because they can afford to do so. So you can easily secure a job here that pays $3,000 to $5,000. Whereas where I'm from, in the Kansai area, $3,000 is a really nice salary. In Tokyo, it's okay. It's kind of average. So, of course, still most teachers here are getting paid significantly less than that. But as someone that has work experience that I do, has education like how I have, you can most certainly get more. So I'm not going to make a whole video on that. I just want to first clarify and say, again, this is a journal. These are my thoughts. These are my feelings. This is what I'm thinking in my mind. Nobody said I was right. Nobody said they were wrong, but they are. So I just want to clarify that before we go ahead, because I know there's always going to be somebody that get their 2 cents that I didn't ask. So I will honestly leave the door open for this conversation. I'll open up the floor for you all to critique me for this video. It's okay. But generally speaking, I'm telling you what's on my mind, and I'm not asking for your 2 cents. But for this video, yes, okay, go ahead. I'll let you chime in. So, the main reason why I ended up staying at a hotel was because the share house that I'm in right now was not going to be ready for a few more days. And for the interview that I had, it was going to be first thing in the morning at 9:45 a.m. And I knew that it was going to take about 3 hours for me just to get to Tokyo, not including unpacking my stuff and actually getting to the interview. I didn't want to go to my interview with my luggage in hand. So I decided to rent a hotel a couple of days before because the interview was supposed to be on Tuesday. But I figured, right, if I leave on Monday, I'm going to be dealing with, the weekday rush hour of everyone taking the trains, and I have all my baggage and luggage. That's not going to be very fun to go on a packed train with heavy suitcases and bags and luggage by myself. And on top of that, it was going to be the end of the holiday. So I figured, okay, Sunday is going to be really busy too, but at least if I leave first thing in the morning, it won't be as bad, which is what I did. I took the Shinkansen from Shin Osaka to Shinagawa Station. So, this all happened on Sunday. So I ended up staying at the Mitsui Garden Hotel Premier in Ginza, which I absolutely loved it, and I will definitely go back there again. Although, sadly, I couldn't enjoy any of my time there because I spent the whole time doing interviews, running back and forth, waiting on things to be open, going shopping, just doing everything but staying at the hotel. I didn't get not a single good night's rest there. My leg is hurting me. Sorry, I can't figure out how to sit. Okay, we're going to have to do the one leg prop. I'm holding my laptop on my leg right now. But, okay, this feels much better. Sorry for being so close to the camera. Maybe that's how I normally am. I don't know. But, what was I going to say to you guys? So, yeah, I had one kind of full day before my interview, but the whole day went to crap because conveniently, just my luck, as soon as I got to, the train station, really before I got there, my pocket Wi-Fi just decided to stop working. And to let you guys in on the secret I shouldn't be telling you, basically I found a loophole to get free pocket Wi-Fi, which I shouldn't have been doing because it most certainly was not the right thing to do. Not necessarily illegal, but illegal. Yeah, they cut it off just in time. I was thinking about that. I was like, I know this is going to happen right before my trip. And it happened. So I had to get around entirely using my own Japanese ability, using my own ability to read everything, like just everything I need to do by myself. And normally I'm not having to ask for a lot of help because I just use my GPS for everything, and it's in a mixture of English and Japanese. I'm never going to be the one to pretend like I'm like some completely fluent person in Japanese because I most certainly am not. So, yeah. I made it somehow. I somehow miraculously made it all the way there. And then I finally caved in because I was going to take the train, but the train was so packed and I had really 4 heavy bags on me. My entire body was in pain. I was like, you know what? Nope. I'm going to go ahead and take a taxi from here. Took a taxi, didn't have the best experience with my cab driver. I kind of talked about this a little bit, but he kind of, I mean, I get it with the whole coronavirus thing, but it's like, you're still a cab driver. It's a matter of professionalism. He went out of his way to seemingly like avoid touching me like at all costs. He was really irritable. And I just can't explain it, but like he did not rub me the right way. I've definitely had much better and friendlier experiences in the Kansai region. And so I would think that being in Tokyo, he's experienced dealing with foreigners more, that he would at least be nice. It's bad enough that you don't speak English as a cab driver. So like at least, kind of pretend to be friendly. Nope, he had zero interest in doing that. He was super rude. I can't explain it. It was all in a very passive way, but it seemed like I was taking a cab in New York and I was taking a cab, in Japan. So now the ambulance is coming. Every sound possible happening during my one video take. So, yeah. The night before was awful because I have been waiting to get my pocket Wi-Fi device and nothing, I mean literally nothing went as planned. I tried to go out the night before to get, a new cell phone or to pay for pocket Wi-Fi, and just my luck, the service counter had just closed about 30 minutes ago, so I had to come back the next day. The problem is the next day I had my interview. So I was having to get around by going to the train station, using the free Wi-Fi there, and then if you're already set on the GPS, it can still navigate you in the right direction to get to your destination, but it cannot reroute you basically. So I was using that to get everywhere, and it worked. So anyway, the reason why I got there early was for that interview in particular, and I knew about it in advance, but I was spending so much time trying to clean up my apartment in Osaka, as well as trying to, get things together. I'm at my hotel that I wasn't busy, doing my lesson plan. I thought it wasn't going to be a big deal. Well, I freaked out the night before, and I couldn't figure out what to do because the guy that I was interviewing, he was an American guy. I have no idea what kind of Asian he was. I'm sorry to say it that way, but I'm not being politically correct with you all. I don't know what the fuck he was. Excuse my language. He was from Hawaii. It's probably gonna give away what company I applied for. But he was from Hawaii. He was an Asian guy. He was really nice, but no, honestly, during the first interview, I couldn't tell whether he liked me or not because he had a definite poker face. And I didn't like the fact that he recorded our interview without even asking. Like, I knew it was being recorded because it did this meeting or whatever is being recorded, so I knew. But it's like, that's kind of important information you should say yourself, just out of professionalism at the start of the interview, or at least before we interview, you can send in a message saying that you're going to record it because that's kind of private. And honestly, I don't think it's appropriate to record an interview. Because, in person, you wouldn't be recording it, so why are you doing it online? Especially if you're not intending to share it with somebody else, which, of course, the excuse to be, I wanted to show it to my manager, whatever, bullshit. So it's like, okay, same thing. If they want to see it, they should be there then, especially in Japan, a country where pictures and videos are so violating. Like, people act like you just groped them or something if you do something like that. So off of that, not going to make a big deal about that. I don't care that much, but I did honestly care about it. I just never expressed it to him, of course, because I'm trying to get the job. He messaged me back a few days later telling me he was certain that they had a spot for me on their team, blah, 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 and told me that I would be doing an interview with them. And, he knew I was in Osaka at the time. And so he was waiting until I was going to come in. So he asked me, when would be a good time for me. And so I expressed that it'd be about 2 weeks from then, around like the 26th. So he made the interview for that exact day, wasn't it? Was the interview on the 20th? I can't remember if the interview was on Monday or Tuesday. I think the interview was on Monday, actually, come to think of it. I think it was. I can't remember. Either the interview was on Monday or Tuesday. I honestly have no idea. I really don't know. I'm going to guess that it was on Monday. I have to look back at the dates. But let me see. Because, and now I have 2 phones, just to fill you in on that. Yeah, so I went to the counter and it wasn't available. So I ended up going back and getting my first Japanese phone. And I got a Sharp Aquos or whatever. Aquos? Sense 3. And I still have my iPhone 7 Plus. But I love this phone to death, mainly because it has a ton of data on it built into it. I paid for 200 gigabytes of storage built into this phone. And I also pay for additional storage because I make YouTube videos using my phone most of the time. So, and I take tons of pictures. And even when I don't take pictures or videos on here, I normally transport my photos and videos to this phone. And that's another reason why I like using this for YouTube, this and my MacBook that I'm using to record this, because I can easily transfer the data with AirDrop between the two. So I do plan to get a new iPhone. I do plan to get a new MacBook computer because now these things are like 5 years old, very old. So Yeah, let me see if I can find the dates for you so I can make my story make more sense. Okay, so yeah, the interview was on Monday, so yeah, that's why I had no time. I had bought pocket Wi-Fi while I was at the hotel when I realized, okay, it's not gonna come. So I asked my mom if I could borrow some money so I could, pay for it online because I had no money on my card. I had cash, but I had no money on my actual card. So I had already dumped like 500, maybe like $600 basically between the hotel staying there for 3 days, paying for a taxi. I had to pay for three different trips. I had to make a back and forth trip there like twice by taxi because my stuff was so heavy. Before I took the taxi, I forgot to say this. I actually left one of my big bags inside of a locker at the train station because I couldn't make it anymore. It was extremely hot. It's like 100 degrees here. It's 100% humidity here, and you're having to do all of this walking. It's not like in the US where you're outside for 2 seconds. Oh my God, it's so hot. You get inside your car, you have AC, you drive everywhere. That's not how it's like in Japan. You have to walk for miles inside of these train stations, walk long 10, 15, 20-minute walks from the train station to your destination with all of this baggage, and I'm by myself, no boyfriend, no husband, nobody helping me. So I was like, I got to at least put one of my bags aside of here. Honestly, I should have put at least two, but whatever. I was taking a taxi, I was going to be fine. So yeah, that wasted a lot of money too, because I ended up wasting about $60 between back and forth taxi rides, wasting another $10 with the locker. It was just a nightmare. And then my Wi-Fi that I paid for and had money in limbo because I ended up paying for it twice because I chose the wrong date the first time, and then the second time they never got back to me. They said they were going to deliver. They offer same day delivery, and they even let you choose the time slot. And on top of that, the Wi-Fi office, I found out at the last minute, it was near my hotel, so I could have just walked there. It was like a 20-minute walk, but I didn't know this. Wasn't thinking of it. I was so freaked out and it made me so angry because the company was Japan Wireless. I'm going to do a whole review on them. They don't offer a phone number to contact them on purpose. You can only contact them by email. And so you're literally waiting for them to get back to you. And so I didn't even look at reviews. I just instantly searched for, pocket Wi-Fi. I saw that it was cheap. But then when I thought, I was like, $17 for just 3 days. That's actually really expensive. There's pocket Wi-Fi that you can get here for $15 to $20 for an entire month of unlimited. So for it to not be unlimited and for it to only be for 3 days, I was like, forget it. It's enough to get me to my interview. That was the main interview that I wanted because this was a position to be a head teacher. So anyway, I had to stay up all night for no reason. I went to the, I had to go to the electronics store. Sorry, my leg is hurting on that side. Switching legs. I went to the electronics store, and like I told you guys, I was 30 minutes too late. So like, it wasn't even possible. It wasn't even possible to like go there and pick it up then. So like she took down all of my information. I was supposed to come back the next day. So I was supposed to go. So like she had like written down, how can I say? She got all my information, like told me what I need to bring for the next day. So I knew that I was going to be coming back the next day and that I would need to, bring my passport, have my IDs, everything else. And that I hear all my roommates outside. I feel a little bit nervous, but they don't understand me. So like, they don't know me anyway. But yeah, so like my brain is like messing up. I got distracted. Okay. So yeah, I got really upset, but I was like, okay, at least I'll be ready, for it the next day. So I stayed up all night. I had to talk to my mom. I wasted $10 buying a book. I just like did everything to plan for this lesson. But let me backtrack. So I was told that I could do whatever I wanted, and that the lesson would be about 20 to 25 minutes, and that I could either teach whatever I want or I could, have it on theme. And so he told me that they were working on, space colony on Mars or whatever, or colony on Mars. And so I know as a teacher and as somebody that's been on the hiring end before, if your employer is giving you a hint telling you, hey, this is what we're learning about in class, it's a pretty good idea for you to choose your lesson based around what they're doing. It shows that you're good at being creative, lesson planning, and it gives them an idea of, what your lesson would look like with their school. I can't really explain it. Basically, it looks good. Of course, I could have just done my own lesson, but I wanted to impress them. I stayed up all night. My mom sent me like a ton of information. I did a lot of searching. I spent a ton of time on, Pinterest, just everything, looking for stuff because it's hard enough to find stuff on outer space. But then you're talking about outer space stuff for 5 and 6 year olds, like not even 6 year olds. These kids are going to be between the ages of 3 to 5. They're way too young to be learning about the solar system, but it's Japan, so they normally teach kids stupid stuff they don't need to know, or at least not at that age. And on top of that, it was for summer school, which I've never done, an interview for summer school, which was really bogus because it was basically free labor for a full lesson. So whatever. I wanted the job, so I did it. I stayed up all night. I've never worked overnight before like that in my life. I literally had an energy drink, I had coffee, I had like a sandwich, I had some rice paper rolls that I showed you guys on Patreon. I muscled through it. I stayed up all night and I still didn't perfect everything. I put together like 5 to 7 slides with just a random picture of Mars that I got from Google, and I typed a couple of sentences. And my goal was to talk about the picture so the kids can visualize it, but having a couple of things to say. And then I also paid for a Dr. Seuss book about outer space. And so I was like, okay, between these two things, it's going to take up all the time. And then I also had a little game activity. So they were going to play a game that I got from Pinterest, which I kind of tweaked it. They were going to get a plastic cup and a ball of foil that was going to be used as like, what's supposed to be like a meteor or whatever. And supposed to put the foil on top of the cup and try to quickly run back to their team and dump their meteor like on their planet, basically. So yeah, it was a fun little game, and that was going to be my lesson right there. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was as good as it was going to get. And so yeah, I actually left out super early because, again, I wanted to avoid the rush hour traffic, and I knew that I didn't have, Wi-Fi. So I was getting around solely based off of using, my phone's limited ability to navigate me to my station. And I'd already gotten lost several times the day before trying to get, to and from the electronics store, trying to get home from the train station, like just everything. I literally got lost for a whole hour. Like I made it to the electronics store okay, but for some reason on my way home, I got lost. I made a wrong turn somewhere, and I ended up lost for an entire hour. So, and it was really embarrassing. Like while I was lost, I somehow like ended up interrupting these like street races or whatever. It was really cool. I wanted to record it, but like I was afraid of them like stabbing me or something. It was this cool group of Japanese people that it looked like I was in Italy or something. It was like this brick road like area in Ginza, and they had these like super cool like sports cars or whatever. And it was like these guys and girls outside. And everyone was recording videos, and they were like racing down the street. And I was like, oh my god, I want to watch this. But I was like too busy being sad and tired and just trying to get home, and I felt embarrassed because I was like kind of walking in the middle of their thing. I was like, I'm lost, guys. I'm not trying to interrupt. I'm sorry. So that's another story. So what happened? So anyway, after that, let me think. My brain is not working right now. So yeah, once I got home, tell you guys, working the lesson thing, I just had to muscle through it, and I made it to the interview hours before. Actually, I was easily able to get to the place from the station, and even took a picture of the place, like told them, look, I'm here, I'm waiting. Inside the train station, I went to Burger King, bought myself an orange juice, just sat there, charged up my devices, and was, perfecting my stuff for my interview, putting on my final touches for my slideshows. And when I got there, he did a lot of stuff. He was nice, but did not rub me the right way at all. So for starts, I thought that, normally an employer would be like, oh, you're here really early, don't wait there, Burger King, just come inside. I told him I was waiting, but I was like, I understand I'm not ready for him. I'm not going to try to force myself there. And if I really want to come there, I can ask, hey, is it okay if I come in a little early? I know I'm really early, but I was worried about getting lost. So I'd rather be on time than late. And I still got there early, even with me waiting at Burger King. I ended up coming there about 10 minutes earlier than expected, but he acted like I was there on time or late. He was ready to see me right away, and seemed like he was waiting on me, so that's fine. But yeah, some things didn't rub me the right way. So for example, when I first came in, I tried to like compliment the fact that I had these like shoes hanging from the ceiling, and like I saw this activity before, but he didn't seem knowledgeable of it. And you'll see why this matters later. He didn't know where it came from and what the purpose was for it. He's like, oh, you can ask such and such about it. And I'm like, I'm new here. I don't know your staff, so I'm asking you. And you're the manager here, so principal, whatever you are, just answer my question or just say you don't know. Whatever. So this matters later on, and in case I forget, you'll see why later. So remind me. Remind me in the comments in case I forget while I'm editing this video. So he had me fill out a questionnaire, basically asking me, if I had been in contact or I believe I have COVID, and basically signing off saying that to my understanding, I don't believe that I had the coronavirus or had been, in contact with someone that did recently. And he also took my temperature, used hand sanitizer, and he actually requires you to change your mask, which that makes sense, but it's like kind of particular. I doubt he does this with parents, but whatever, he does with applicants apparently because he feels comfortable with you. So he he offers you a mask, but I was like, I'd rather use my own for two reasons. One, I was hot and sweaty, and two, I'm black, so I was gonna get makeup all over it, like dookie stains. So like, I'd rather use my own black mask. Thankfully, I carried my spare mask with me that day, because sometimes I don't have it on me because I basically never use it, but I have it as a backup in case I lose my mask for some reason. But nowadays, it's super easy. You can buy a mask anywhere. In fact, if anything, there's too many masks. So, back on subject. We get there and he doesn't do anything in order like how he says inside the email. We were supposed to have like gone over, met the staff first, gone over the rules for about 20 minutes, and then do the demo lesson. Instead, we went straight into, you know, just talk for 2 seconds about the kids and do a demo lesson. And so, like, literally, we didn't even talk for 10 minutes. He was straight away trying to go ahead and do a demo lesson. And he had me change into a uniform shirt, which I felt was unnecessary, but whatever. So, yeah, he had me change into one of their school uniform shirts. And so, while I was waiting for the kids to be available, I thought this was super rude and unprofessional, but I figured it was just him putting on a show, but I learned later on, nope, this is real personality. He caught us of being passively upset with the teacher that was doing a lesson with our kids because it was going on for too long, and he needed to borrow some of our students so that I could do my demo lesson. So we decided to do 2 separate groups instead of just doing one. And this is going to matter later on too. So he broke them up into 2 different groups, and he had at first, I think it was kids of a higher level, maybe, I don't know, and which was a mixed group of boys and girls. So it's 50-50, 3 girls, 3 boys, basically. And so he had them, it was 6 of them, 3 and 3. So he had them come down, and he asked for me to, like, have them spaced out. I'm thinking, like, why can't you do this? You're the manager. Why are you making things more difficult for me as a demo lesson teacher? But whatever, I kind of tried to do that, explaining, well, don't sit too close. But it's like, they're in school, they're learning, they're wearing masks. You're having them use hand sanitizer every 2 seconds. Like, he was on the ball. Like, he definitely had OCD like how I do, because he was having them kids, anytime they cough, sneeze, touch something, he had hand sanitizer out and had them open up their hand and use it. Like, he did not play. And that's how I was with my kids too. So I like that part of him, not gonna lie. But yeah, when we finally got ready, I'm skipping like a couple of things. Like, for example, he gave me some time to like get my craft together. Like, I was balling up the foil balls down there. And so the school was literally like a house. It wasn't like the nice pictures that I saw online. They had more than one campus. So I'm guessing that the nicer campus was the one where the pictures for the website is taken from, because that could not have been the same school. And if it was, I did a good job editing the pictures, because it looked like it was a normal, real school, and it was not. It was nice, so it had a really homely-like feel. But what wasn't explained very clearly to me, neither online nor during the interview process, was apparently the teachers like don't have their own classrooms. They basically shuffle off the students in a way, but he kind of spoke out of both sides of his mouth. It made it sound like you do have your own class you are solely responsible for with another person, but then he also made it sound like you're constantly switching rooms and like almost like high school, like I can't explain it, or junior high, like. So I'm not gonna hurt my brain trying to think about all that, but long story short, we get into the demo lesson, and it went way better than I thought it was going to. The kids were super, super nice. They were super friendly, and they had a ton to talk about. They had questions on everything. They wanted to share a lot about everything. And so I was really happy that they were engaged with the lesson. And so, of course, there's always going to be someone who's not. But this is a demo lesson. It's not my job. The lesson went on way longer than it should have. I ended up going like about 15 minutes over what I should have done. It ended up being more like 30 to 40 minutes instead of being the 20-25. And so during my demo lesson, I thought it was just out of my mind. He had a timer set. He was timing me. He's on his phone. He's huffing and puffing, sighing and whatnot. And I'm thinking like, okay, like I just know at my nowhere. If this is going on too long, he's going to tell me, okay, you can stop. That's enough, whatever. Nope. He not only lets me continue the lesson, he lets me do it twice. So with each group, there were little differences between them, between their interactiveness and between me trying to speed them along, because there were points where, okay, this is going on for too long, because they were just endlessly raising their hand, have a question. And so I'm thinking to myself, from a teacher perspective, you don't know what your employer is looking for. For one person, they might be super time conscious with learning, especially for this to have been an IB school. So one part of me is like, okay, I want to give the kids the opportunity to talk. Even if it goes over, that's fine. It's supposed to be student-led learning, right? The other part is like, I can't let this lesson go on forever. You got to put your foot down somewhere. You got to tell the kids, hey, sorry, I know you have questions, but kind of have to keep going. And so, yeah, there's that. But then this is the part that made me upset too. And I'm sorry for y'all that are politically correct. I'm gonna keep it real with you. You're gonna know how I feel about this. I split up the boys and girls into two separate teams, boys versus girls, because they chose to be broken up that way. And on top of that, it made it easy for me. There's 3 and 3. Easy to decide teams that way. I did it with the first group only because after the first group, he asked me not to do it with the second group. And he purposefully, for the second group, only had, I think it was 2 girls, which made it where you could not split it up that way anyway. I don't think, was it 2 girls? I don't think there was still 3 girls, but I think, obviously I knew better this time. I knew better. So I put them on 2 different teams. And I'm thinking like, we'll get into that part later. We'll leave that alone. So yeah, at the end of it, he took me up to his office, asked if I had, any questions or whatever. He allowed me to tell him, what I thought. And so I was like, oh, of course, I understand, I know right off the back, time-wise that, I need to be more mindful of the time. And so he had a lot to say about that, between that and then breaking up in groups. And I wasn't going to lie and pretend like that was a part that I find problematic. For starters, we're in Japan. I don't care what your stance is on the LGBTQ. This is Japan. And not only are they not supportive of that, this has nothing to do with that. I'm sorry, but let's be realistic here. I'm not going to speak too politically correct. Gender does exist. Boys and girls can tell the difference between boys and girls. That is how we can tell who we are attracted to. For example, myself as a straight person can differentiate my like for someone as a woman and my like for someone as a man. I can admire the beauty of a woman, but I can say, oh, because this person is a woman, I have no interest in them. And I can say, oh my God, because this person has a penis and is a born man, I want to. Okay, simple as that. I did not separate the kids based off of their race or nationality. I didn't say Americans only over here and you dirty Japanese people over here. I didn't say that. I didn't say dirty black kids here, pale white skinned Europeans over here. No, no, no. These are all Asian kids for starts. All I did was put them on the team they asked to be on. I asked, how do they want to split it? There's clearly 3 boys, clearly 3 girls. Please stop. So, to me, not only did it come off as inappropriate and rude for him to have shared his 2 cents of me on that topic, especially considering the country that we're residing in, but the fact that that was a deciding factor in criticizing me as a teacher, I'm like, okay, whatever. Didn't know this was going to be a PC liberal school. I thought it was just supposed to be IB style. It's just supposed to be Reggio Emilia, whatever. I never even heard of that crap before. Basically, it's a ripoff of the IB program that doesn't want to call itself the IB program because they want to pretend like it's some type of new Italian invention. I don't know. Maybe it's been around longer, but it definitely is not better than IB. That's all I have to say to that. It's literally the exact same thing. So, yeah. My lips are like so dry. I need to buy some more chapstick. But yeah, so anyway, that was one thing. And then the time part is the one that really got me. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, I said to someone, I was like, well, I don't know what you're thinking inside your mind as an employer. I don't want to tell the kids, shut up, they can't ask questions, because who knows, they might not have the opportunity to ask that question later on. And I do have time, and I figured that if I was going overtime, that you would just stop me. Not to mention, not only did you not stop me, I didn't say this part, you had me do 2 lessons. So what sense does that make? Because he even said inside his email that he might just have you do 1 or 2. Depending on the time, basically. So if you felt like it went over too long, why did you make it 2 lessons? Then he had the nerve to talk about the fact how it went into their lunchtime. And I'm like, why are you trying to guilt trip me with something that you could have controlled yourself? You are the manager. Put your foot down and say, hey, I'm sorry the lesson's going good, but they have lunch now, so let's just end it here. Or instead, just say, okay, well, since I let her go over, I didn't interrupt, because the excuse was he didn't want to interrupt me, then just have me do 1 lesson. Don't have me do it twice. And don't have me do the second one without telling me the feedback from the first one that you wanted me to only do, for the 20 minutes not to go over. Because you had no problem interrupting and chiming in when you got offended by me putting them in, a boys versus girls team for a game. What? So he picked and chose with that. Then this is the part that really made me upset. Beyond the time part. Do you know he had the audacity to complain about me not being well versed, well studied on the topic of outer space, specifically Mars? The kids had asked some complicated questions. I forgot what one of their questions was. There was like at least two, if not three questions they asked that I truly could not answer. One of them was about the size of the planets, which I should know this. But I was like, I know that Venus is supposed to be about the same size as Earth. It's known as its sister planet, but I don't know which one is bigger or smaller. I think Venus is a little bit bigger than Earth. I didn't even search it for this video, so go ahead and tell me in the comments. But I was like, I'm not going to sit over here and lie to the kids and pretend like I do know. Then he asked a couple of other questions too about Mars. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, I did this lesson because you asked me to. I didn't choose this topic. I did a lesson on the topic that you asked. And then apparently you didn't know either. Because when I asked him for his feedback as he was sitting there during the demo lesson, he played dumb and acted nonchalant. And so I'm like, okay, if you don't know the answer, how are you going to critique me and say that I should be doing lessons on something I don't know the answer to? When this is your topic. You chose this topic for your students for summer school. So apparently you don't know it either. So how hypocritical of you. You also have the nerve to talk about not doing things that you're not aware of, but you can't even tell me a decoration's up on your own school, and the main entrance, as soon as you come in, you get hit with the fact there's shoes hanging from the ceiling. So you can't even tell me why your school is decorated the way it is. But you have the audacity. You gave me a hard lesson that's not only hard to do for a demo lesson, but for their age group. Then you criticize me for not knowing every little question I have about it, and then even the time on it. What? So it just came off as him, one, wanting to be a perfectionist, and two, wanting to have something negative to say. And then I even commented on like a student that was distracted. I'm thinking like, well, maybe she wouldn't be so distracted if the school wasn't cheap. You will have the school inside of the house. We're literally doing the lesson in the dining room. And I guess what was supposed to be the living room in a normal house, the door was left open, and there's another fun lesson going on next door. So one of the students is busy looking over there, of course, instead of looking at my slideshow, picture lesson going on over here. I'm doing a demo lesson, not class management control. I'm only here for 20 minutes. Normally, what a normal school does, they have other teachers there that normally control the class to make sure that you can focus on just giving the demo lesson. But instead, he wanted to play mind games with you, and he was focusing on everything from the timeliness to your knowledge on the subject. And I would even understand this better if he explained this beforehand, but he gave you no rubric. There was no, this is what we're looking for in a teacher. There was no, this is what you should be mindful of. The fact that you said the lesson can go between 20 to 25 minutes, and the fact that you could be doing 1 or 2 lessons shows that you don't care about time as much as you pretended like you did. So make up your mind. So it just made me so upset. Not to mention that we probably started on time because I spent some time in the bathroom trying to change it to my shirt, and between us waiting for her, the class to be ready for us to take a few students out at a time, but also got there about 15 minutes early. So it was just so much, made me so angry. So if that wasn't bad enough, I'm thinking about the end of it, I'm going to be walking out signing the contract because he showed me more about the school, showed me like their journals and whatnot. And this part made me upset because I was talking to him how I thought it was nice that they did a lot of, exploring of other cultures at their schools. For example, they went to some sort of like Islamic, like Turkish center, whatever, which y'all know my thoughts and feelings on Islam, but I do believe that people should be exposed and learn about other cultures, other religions. That shouldn't just be shown one thing. And so he threw in while I was complimenting, like that's the reason why, we try to stay away from things like that. Like, for example, like, with the gender thing. And so I'm thinking like, you already gave your 2 cents on that topic, and I don't agree with you. I'm trying to, keep it cordial here, and I'm trying not to argue with you. Please don't bring it up again, because you have no idea how mad I am about that, because I'm thinking like, this is Japan. It's okay here and in the US to say that, to make a boys versus girls team. Let's stop pretending. I don't care who you fucking like. That's between you and God. But what I am not going to do is pretend like there's no such thing as a man, there's no such thing as a woman. And pretend like boys and girls should not be able to tell the difference between themselves. There's a reason why we have a boys and girls restroom. There's a reason why there's a boys and girls section for clothing. You can do whatever you want to as an adult. I don't care about your personal life. This is not the US. This is not Europe. And I didn't say that one was better than the other. It was an easy way to separate the kids. And in any other school, that's exactly what they would do too. We have boys and girls teams. The Olympics runs that way. Get over yourself. I hate when people like push their own beliefs down your throat. And then the fact that you're using that as critique for my demo lesson. And so then, like, yeah, he was talking about how, if the highlight of the lesson was supposed to have been the game, that maybe I should have done that first. And I was like, I didn't even respond back to, like, I was thinking like the game was icing on the cake. It wasn't needed for the lesson. It was an add-on to it. And like most teachers, normally you do the lesson and teaching part first, and for fun, they get to play a game afterwards. Because he was saying, it was a lot of time, sitting on the floor, whatever. And I'm like, this is your environment that you had to offer me. This is what you gave me to work with for a lesson. I wasted money buying all this damn foil and crap and cups to do this lesson. If you want it done another way, you want it more interactive, you want it fun, you want the moving around, then you plan the lesson and you let me execute it then. So, whatever. So even after all of that, he actually did get back to me, and I think it was like the next day, and so then he was asking me for references. And this is where I decided I was just going to drop out of it. Y'all know my situation. I shared everything on here already, talking about what happened to me in my last job. I wanted to go ahead and just use them, just to give the reference. But then I was like, you know what? I'm not going through all of that. I'm not going to go ahead and be phony, waste my time. I'm not going to go ahead and schedule or create fake references or whatever. You're going to take me as I am. So I just told him, I was like, look, like, I did not have a favorable experience at my last job. I love my job. I love my students, which is still true. But I know that they're not going to put in a good word for me. And so I pretty much just told him like that in the email. And I was hoping that wasn't going to affect my chance of getting a job there, but I was pretty sure it was at this point. But it made me so mad because I'm like, if you want references, why didn't you ask me before I came all the way here to Tokyo? Because I literally wasted $600 at that hotel, going back and forth, doing all of that crap for no reason for a job I ended up not even getting. That would have been $600 in my pocket. I wasn't going to come to Japan for another few days. I wouldn't have stayed in Ginza, if I knew I wasn't going to get that job. And so, of course, ultimately, I cost myself the job, but I wouldn't have gone through that if I knew he was going to ask for references. References are not a thing in Japan. Only foreign schools and foreign teachers ask for that, which, like I said, there's good reasoning behind it, but I stick to what Gary Vee said, not just for myself, but because it's true. Anybody that you're using as a reference, of course, they're going to put in a good word for you. Why as an employer do you care about what somebody who I'm asking on my behalf to put in a good word for me? They're going to lie through their teeth. I'm only going to choose people that are going to talk good and highly of me. That's just facts. So what good does it do to you as an employer? Then it went from, that to trying to, question my resume. There's a part, I normally leave this part out, and people don't normally ask me about it, but I had my resume about, my volunteer experience and everything, working at, kindergarten and doing daycare experience, etc. He was like, normally you have to have a license, whatever, you would have been in high school, blah, blah. And I'm like, you can volunteer at daycares, including kindercare, as a volunteer, as a teenager. You do not need to have a license. You do not need to be an adult to do that. And so it just made me so upset. I'm like, you had the audacity, the nerve, trying to come with me with that information instead of doing your own research. And then it was so ironic. I swear I got this news article because they've been keeping track on the stuff that I've been searching. Literally a day later or later that day, I got a news article from the New York Times talking about how kindercare is understaffed and how they're having trouble getting people to come back to the profession of offering childcare after the pandemic situation. Of course, I was, doing my volunteer work years before. But I'm thinking to myself, like, you clearly didn't even research what's required to work at these places. You're telling me about general information, trying to question, basically calling me a liar. You're trying to question my information on my application. And so it's like, which one is it? Are you concerned about what type of teacher I am? You want to do my references? Or are you concerned about the legitimacy of my, my resume? Which you have the right to question both. But why not do all of this before you have me do a demo lesson, before you ask me for references? You have plenty of time for that. You could have saved both of us a lot of time and money. And so, of course, for him, it didn't really cost him anything. But it made me super upset because this dude literally just wasted $600 a month. And so, of course, at the end of the day, I could have chose to give the references. I could have taken that gamble. I could have gone ahead with it. But I was like, I'm not doing all of this at this point. The salary is nice. The position is nice. But there's other better jobs out there for me. And to be honest, I wasn't like in an environment after I saw that we were going to be switching classes and all this so-called teamwork. I want a normal classroom environment as a normal teacher. That was not going to be offered there. And on top of that, I also did not like the fact that I was going to have to feel like I'm walking on eggshells around a super politically correct teacher that doesn't believe in gender. So I'm sorry for y'all politically correct liberal people. Like, this stuff does not work for me. I'm keeping it real. Sorry. I don't play those games. So that was just my red flag sign to let it go. It really hurt me a lot because I wasted a lot of time, a lot of money, but it just really made me mad because, like, I don't even know what made me the most upset, but I honestly probably said the thing that angered me the most was I did the demo lesson that he asked me to do. And then part of the critique is that I didn't know enough about the subject. So I'm like, why are you asking me to do it then? You told me this is what they're doing in class. Ask me to do something based around it. Then when I do it, then you get mad at me because I can't play God and predict what these kids are going to ask. Of course, I did basic research on this stuff before I presented it. But I was like, the last time I did anything related to outer space, I was in 3rd grade. Do you know how old I am? Almost 30 years old. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for the timeliness because, fine, I should have been more, punctual, if you will. But it's like, you're the interviewer. You're the owner. If it's going over too long, stop me. Not to mention, you didn't mind stopping me after the game to tell me, hey, don't do that the next round. You didn't mind mentioning that part, but you left out the part, hey, make sure that, everyone's, engaged. Make sure you're asking everyone questions because there were a few students that, were talking a lot. So, of course, I'm going back and forth with them. The kids were not required to put in input. I did speak to everyone, but not as much as the ones that were being the most talkative. There was like 2 students in that class that were doing the majority of the talking. I'm not going to force the kids to be interested in outer space. They're listening. I had everybody answer a question at the end. So even that too, for the second group of kids, it was very obvious he was in a rush. And so he asked me, because since he was so much in a rush, I didn't do the part where at the end of the lesson to wrap it up, I had them tell me what's one thing that they learned. And so I was like, oh, like, you don't want to, ask them a question at the end. So I was like, oh, well, no, you seem to be in a rush. And so it's like, do you see how you're all over the place here? You tried to encourage me to go overtime with the last group of kids. Then you critique me for going overtime. What? Make it make sense. You claim that you wanted to allow me to do my own thing and didn't want to interrupt, but you didn't mind interrupting during the break to tell me, hey, don't separate the kids by gender, even for a game. What? So then, like I said, it was ironic too, because you have decorations in your own school. Then you played dumb and pretend like you didn't know where it was from or what it was about. But then you criticized me for doing the lesson that you gave me, that you didn't know the answers to either, because when they asked me, I told them that, we'll have to see. I don't know. And so, of course, we're not going to actually see because I don't work here. I'm only doing 20, 25-minute lessons. Oh, yeah, it's important that you follow up with that. And then make the lesson take even longer. And I don't have Wi-Fi right now. You know that. I had to download my whole slideshow in order to do this. And on top of that, I asked him because he was right there next to me. And he didn't know the answer either. In fact, he seemed like he was being put in a spot for being asked that question. I said, oh, so you can't answer it either. So who are you to talk about this? You chose the curriculum for summer. Oh, boy. So this is what I was talking about. I don't know whether this man has a degree or is a licensed teacher or not. I doubt it. But even if he is, this is why I don't like working for foreign schools. He was American. He, was born in Hawaii. I don't know if he's actually Hawaiian or not. But I was thinking to myself the whole time, you all do everything in your power to make it where whoever is applying for your job doesn't want to work at the company. It's not even just a references thing. That was the icing on the cake. Because I was mad just during the whole, critique period with him explaining. I literally had to just keep my mouth shut and just take the criticism because it was so hard. I didn't say any of the stuff I'm saying to you all then. I just accepted it. I was just like, okay, I'm sorry. I just kept apologizing, whatever. But I'm like, how would I know what to do and what not to do without you telling me? Because again, different schools function differently. To one school, they want the students to talk. My last interview that I didn't tell you guys about this on YouTube, but on Patreon I mentioned it. I did an interview before them where they actually complimented me. A big prestigious school, much more well known than them, in Osaka. They liked the fact that I went back and I gave the kids time to change their answer, to give their input. I listened to them. Here you are, you're criticizing me for going overtime, for doing the same thing. 2 totally different schools. Their school is more prestigious than yours. And yet you have all these high standards for yours. Like yours is the uppity school. They were offering me a higher salary than that school. I'm not going to lie to you. But still. And so I hate to like, it's always male teachers too. It's always the men. Whenever men are in manager positions, foreign men, they are always awful assholes. And so, of course, in his mind, I seem like the a-hole. I seem like I was being insensitive because how dare me think that boys and girls are different from each other? How dare me put them in a boys and girls team? How dare me go overtime? But then you encouraged it. How dare me not know everything, but you're the one who planned the lesson. So I'm done. This can go on forever. I'm just going to end it here. But it just made me so angry, so upset, because I honestly like just have no idea how I was supposed to have been able to predict this. And it made me so angry because I stayed up all night trying to plan this lesson just for it to not be perfect anyway. So whatever. I was glad that it was over with, but it really hurt to walk away from it because part of me felt like I should just go ahead and have given the reference. But I was like, I'm not going through all of that because all they're going to do is put in a bad word for me. And you're going to choose not to hire me anyway. So I'd rather you just not hire me and me leave it alone than me go through that. Like, you can be nosy and go ahead and spend 2 seconds, do a Google search, and look up abroad, and you'll see my video explaining all the crap they did to blackmail me. You can contact them on your own and ask them about me, whatever, which you're probably going to do anyway. Just, why was she so afraid to give me a reference? And then he had the nerve to ask, even after he decided, he wasn't going to move forward, he was like, is it because I, questioned the, your resume? Or is it, because, or is it because of the reference thing? So I was like, it was the references. Like, I'm not doing that. And so I didn't explain to him why I'm not in detail, like I'm telling you all. But I'm like, I know they're not going to put in a good word for me. And two, I don't have to do this with another company. So he gave me the option to put in a reference for my school, whatever else. I'm like, I don't have to do this with any other company in Japan. Why am I doing this for you and your school? Why? There's literally no reason. None. Sorry, my phone just went off. Who messaged me? Yeah, I'm not bending over backwards for that. I wanted that job. I wanted that position. That would have been a really nice position. But I was like, nope, I'm not going through all that. Forget it. Like, either you hire me and take that chance on your own, or it's just not meant to be. Because while you might not be comfortable working for you, another company, another school will hire me off the bat. And that's exactly what's going on right now. I've had tons of other interviews both before and after them. I will continue to do more. I'm not going to freak out over them. I'm not going to play these little manipulation and mind games. I wanted the salary. But even when I was telling my mom, like, she was in agreement too. I know, so, of course she's your mom. But like normally, like, she's kind of, she's normally the one that's like how you white people are to be criticizing me in my comment section. She's normally like, oh, you shouldn't have done that, or you should have went through with that. She tries to be understanding, but she'll also be real with me too. She completely agreed. She was like, he seems like a perfectionist. And so she didn't like how, that was either, because like you asked her to do it on, Mars, specifically Mars, not just outer space, Mars. And I was going to just do it on outer space in general. So I threw in a little bit of outer space stuff, but I tried to keep the topic on Mars. I'm done. This is why I don't go through all of that stuff. This is why I have a video that's, I don't know if it's going to come before or after this, but I had a whole video in which I talked about, what I look for in an employer and things that I do and do not do when it comes to applying for a job. And this is why I don't do that. And this is why I actually prefer jobs that don't have you do a demo lesson at all. Because my resume speaks for itself. You can and this is one of the last jobs I interviewed for said too. You can teach someone how, to teach, but you can't teach someone how to interact with kids, which technically you can't teach that too. But you know what I mean? That should be the, excuse my voice, I'm talking so much. That should be the part that matters. They're over here busy nitpicking over things that don't matter. You can work on timeliness. You can work on lesson planning. You can't teach somebody how to be a good teacher, as in how to be good with the kids. It's not as easy to teach, I should say. It either comes to you naturally or it has to be learned, which is harder. You are busy focusing on trying to find something wrong with my lesson, and you're completely oblivious and unaware of the fact that literally all of the problems go back to you. You planned the lesson ultimately because you chose the theme. You knew it was a weird and difficult topic. You are the one who chose the time. You could have stopped me at any moment. And not only did you not stop me, you asked for me to do a second group and then encouraged me to do the exact same lesson with both groups, even though you knew it was going on for too long. You asked me to basically tag on an extra 5 to 10 minutes. just so you can complain about it again, which made no sense. Then you wasted my time because you could have asked the references before I came all the way to Tokyo. Why are you waiting until I come in and say, oh, by the way, do you have any references? I have to already did the demo lesson. At this point, you should just know whether you want to hire me or not. References are after a first lesson or after a first interview. You don't ask me for no damn references after I do 2 interviews and a demo lesson. Get out of here. And you know that they don't do that in Japan. So, again, I get why they're doing it because I can be totally real with myself. I did not leave my job in the correct way. But how I left my employer has nothing to do with my style as a teacher or my reasons why, which those things are never taken into, for account. But I'll give him props. He tried to find another way around it by like saying, oh, yeah, you can give a reference, for, someone from your school, whatever, blah, blah. I was like, I'm not doing all of that. It's not worth it. No other company, no other place asked for it. And at this point, you're showing that it's not just a matter of references. You don't trust me because you weren't just asking for references. Now you asking questions trying to clarify the legitimacy of my resume and where I worked at. Because now you're asking questions about, how were you able to do this when you didn't have a license and you weren't old enough for this? It ain't got nothing to do with my experience at here in Japan with teaching. You are trying to find a reason not to hire me at this point. Because now you're checking, dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's. You're doing investigative work at this point. And it's like, if you're that concerned about me, then don't hire me then. I'll do you the favor. I'm not about to sit over and trying to compete and prove my point or whatever. Hire another teacher then. And that's exactly what he's going to do. So I'm hurt. I wasted a ton of money. I wasted a ton of time for no reason. It was a learning experience. I have a new book and demo lesson to give now, I guess, because I'm really pissed off. I wasted money buying that book, making that, PowerPoint presentation all for nothing. So, yeah, that's it. I'm done with this video. Just wanted to explain what happened with that. But it just made me so upset that I hate that interviewers and, management here, especially when it's foreigners, they can never admit to being wrong. They can never admit to making something complicated. And no, that was funny too. He asked me at the end of his critique if there's anything that they can do to make things easier. I'm like, oh my God, for interviewing. I had so much to say. I wanted to say all of this, but I was like, nope. Oh, nothing that I could think of. What the fuck am I answering that question to you for? That's not even appropriate to answer before you've gotten the job, because that can be used against me to choose not to hire me. It seems disrespectful, even though he's asking the question. But I'm thinking like, well, shit, for starts, Sherlock, maybe if you have so many, high whatever criteria you want for your teachers, maybe you should make a rubric so we know what to put together for a demo lesson in, because everything you had to say was negative, basically. So he has something to say about everything. It just made me so upset. So again, ultimately, he acted like he liked the lesson. He thought that it was well put together. And I put a lot of thought into it. But then at the same time, he contradicted himself by saying, "Oh, well, went on for too long." And so I explained to him, because I actually gave him a time frame for how long each part should last, because I had submitted my my lesson plan at the last minute. And so he was saying he didn't really have time to look over it, but that seemed like it was within the time frame, so it'd be fine, because I had it planned for exactly about 25 minutes. I was not factoring in that they were going to be so talkative, because normally for demo lessons, the kids are either really goofy and not paying attention, or they're really bored. So I wasn't expecting them to, be like, oh, glued to the screen and asking questions every 2 seconds. I didn't plan for that. And so I was even honest as a teacher, and I admitted that during the demo lesson, or during the interview part, where he actually spoke to me after the demo lesson. And he talked to me about that and, asked me, what parts I think I could work on, what was good or bad. And so I criticized myself on that. I was like, I didn't factor in that they could be talkative and that this might last longer. Didn't think about that part. That was my fault as a teacher, even though it wasn't really. He could have just told the kids to shut up, which I've had plenty of other interviewers do the exact same thing when the kids are getting too rowdy, too into it. They just tell them, okay, she has to go. She doesn't have a long time. Can ask questions later. So I guess in the future, I'll just have the kids wait until the end of the lesson to ask their questions so that we can get the whole lesson out of the way. And so I was telling them, like, from my perspective, I wanted to seem more genuine as a teacher, not that I was just here to do a demo lesson. And I'm like, okay, kids, shut up. Let me do the lesson. Be quiet. I don't care about your thoughts. I don't care about your questions. I'm just here to get paid, hopefully. So, yeah. And then even when the kids, asked who was I and if I was going to be a teacher there, whatever, he didn't want to get involved in the answer and kind of left me on the spotlight. And I'm like, Well, I don't know. For right now, I'm just visiting. So I was like, oh, good question. He completely acted like he was not there and left me there. And if I had any questions, he completely ignored me or acted irritable. But he was extremely rude and unprofessional. I'm thinking he worried about people being separated by gender. Well, shoot, you definitely acting like a man to me, asshole. So, like I said, it goes beyond the references part. This is before that. So before you think, oh, it's your fault, you could have just given the references. It's not a matter of the references. That was the icing on the cake. His critique for my interview or my demo lesson that was made me upset. I'm not perfect. I don't mind you criticizing it. But if you're going to call me out for stuff, you were feeding the fire, basically. You asked me to do two separate demo lessons. You even asked me to make the lesson longer by having me ask the same question I did with the first group. You tapping on the table, sighing, huffing and puffing. You setting timers without even telling me. That's not very professional. You didn't even tell me that was something that was going to be looked after and that, the time really mattered and to have another class. So I explained all that too. I was like, I'm thinking this is a normal school where the kids go back to the same teacher. They have the same class. And that because of summer school in particular, it really doesn't matter, especially since he didn't cut me off and say, okay, well, sorry, but, we have to get going. How am I supposed to know that? I can't read minds. For you, I seem rude and unprofessional, like I'm not good at lesson planning. But for another school, that could be seen as a negative thing. You're too busy trying to rush through the lesson to keep within the time. Or your lesson isn't lasting for the length of time that it should. Pick your poison, basically. I'd rather have my lesson go on for too long than not long enough. I'd rather have too much stuff planned than not enough. In fact, it's funny he said that because I was freaking out because I bought some stuff the last minute. The craft activity I really wanted to do, I couldn't buy the stuff that I needed. I wanted to do 2 different games because I was thinking it wasn't going to last long enough. So it would have been even longer than that had I had the time and money to go to the dollar store and get the stuff that I really wanted. Because I was busy waiting around on my Wi-Fi all day, my pocket Wi-Fi, I didn't have time to go to Daiso because I didn't know how to get there without getting lost. So I'm done. It's over with. I just want to share what happened. It really made me super, super stressed out. But just in a nutshell, it's like if you have such high standards, high criteria, you want things done a certain way, tell your interviewers or tell your interviewees, tell your potential employees, let them know what you expect and what you want them to do. Secondly, you're so concerned about me lying to you about where I've worked and how I worked there and blah, 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 and what I've done. Then don't hire me then. And don't try to pretend and pass it off as, oh, I'm just checking, bitch. You don't trust me because why are you suddenly asking these questions? You saw my resume 2 weeks ago. Why are you just now asking me about this stuff? And you clearly didn't do your own research because you can easily go to their website. You can easily do a Google search, see reviews of people that were my age that worked for KinderCare, that did volunteer work. I've done summer camps and everything since I was like 10 and 12 years old. Get out of here. You didn't do your own research. You don't know what you're talking about. And at this point, you were just trying to find reasons to not hire me. So I'm done. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Give me your 2 cents. Do you think that I was in the wrong? Do you think he was in the wrong? Like I said, I can totally agree and understand some things from his perspective, but it's like I can't read minds. I don't know what you're looking for or what you want. And then you're also being misleading and confusing by having me do 2 separate lessons, and you chose the theme. So I guess next time I should do my own theme and do what I feel most comfortable with, because that would have been much easier, would have saved me a lot more money, and I could have chosen an even more fun activity because they really liked the game. And most of them, with the exception of like one student, really liked my slideshow. So I'm done. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Excuse me, as always, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Comic95. You can add me on Snapchat at Comic the Savior, and you can also follow me on TikTok at Comic the Savior. I have a TikTok now too. I have my blog at comic95.com, and you can like my Facebook fan page at Comic95 the Savior. Thank you so much for listening and watching. If you want to know more of the details going on in my job hunting and my dating life and work and everything else, please consider becoming a patron. You can sign up for Patreon. The links for everything are down in the description box. And I will see you soon. Hope you watch another video. Bye.